signal. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Okay, we got our technical issues done.
Push them.
You guys ready? All right.
Been ready, sir.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 12th, 2022 meeting of the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners. At this time, it's my pleasure to invite Pastor Jeremy Redman with the First United Methodist Church up to the podium. He will be leading the invocation this morning. And we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Commissioner Flesher. And then we will begin the meeting with a moment of silent reflection for our first responders and members of the armed forces. Would everyone please rise?
Oh God, our most merciful Heavenly Father, we just want to start today with a word of gratitude. God, we want to thank you that we got to wake up today in the greatest country on this planet. We thank you for the United States of America. We thank you for your blessing, for your anointing. We thank you for those especially who've gone before us, who fought and died to give us the freedoms that we enjoy. We thank you, Lord, for those who continue to give of themselves to maintain those freedoms. God, we thank you that we get to live in such a beautiful part of the United States. We thank you for our state, for our county, our local community. And God, I'd like to lift up our county commissioners, their staff. Lord, we pray your blessings on them, on their families. God, we beseech you that you would help us in our troubles. You know what we face in the world as a nation and our state and community, God, all too well, better than we do. And so, God, give wisdom to those who lead us, who serve us, and enable them, Lord, to lead us on in the way that you would have them to do. We thank you as we lift up all of this. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America, land of the free because of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Pastor. Well, it looks like I won't have to give my talk about Commissioner Adams not being here, so welcome, Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
And we successfully resolved the emergency, I hear?
Yes. Sorry. Chicken emergency.
A chicken emergency, oh boy.
Could we elaborate?
No.
No. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. Commissioner, so under additions, deletions to the agenda, a couple items. We have added item 8L under consent, which is a purchase order for Roger Cleveland Golf. We have updated information on the county administrator's matters 11A that you all should have received. We have a request from staff to pull item 12A off the agenda. And Commissioners, I would like to add an item under my matters. The Florida Association of Counties sent out an email blast requesting everybody send a letter to the governor thanking him for vetoing Senate Bill 620. So I'd like to add that to under my matters. So that'd be 14A. Is there?
For clarity, it's 12A1 is the item we'd like to.
Okay. 12A1 is being requested to be pulled from the agenda. Is there any other additions, deletions, emergency items to the agenda?
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Moss, second by Commissioner Flesher. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 5-0. And now we move on to proclamations. The first one is proclamation honoring Siglinda Preston on her retirement from Indian River County Board of County Commissioners, Department of General Services, Library Services Division. And I think we've got some fans here, so come on up to the podium and bring your support group with you. They got to stand with you.
Half the room.
So I'll read this, and then if you'd like to say a few words, that'd be great, okay? This is a proclamation honoring Siglinda Preston on her retirement from Indian River County Board of County Commissioners, Department of General Services, Library Services Division. Whereas Siglinda Preston has announced her retirement from the Indian River County Department of General Services, Library Services Division, effective July 21st, 2022. And whereas Siglinda Preston began her career with Indian River County on May 6, 1991, as a temporary, full-time library technical assistant through a grant and became a permanent employee in that position 6 months later. She received her first promotion in July 1997 to a Library Associate 2 position. In February 2000, she received her final promotion to Librarian 1 and held that position until her retirement. Over the span of her career, Siglinda worked and contributed to multiple departments of the Indian River County Library System, most notably her work as the Law Library Liaison, all while earning her A.S. degree in Library Information and Technology from Indian River Community College, her B.S. degree in Organizational Management from Warner University, and her master's in Public Administration from Troy State University. And whereas Siglinda Preston has served this county in public with distinction and selflessness. During her 31 years of service, she was dedicated and appreciated by her employer, citizens, and coworkers alike. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the board applauds Siglinda Preston's efforts on behalf of the county, and the board wishes to express their appreciation for the dedicated service she has given to Indian River County, and be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners and staff extend heartfelt wishes for success in her future endeavors. Adopted this 12th day of July, 2022, signed by myself as chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. 31 years, you're going to be missed. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would like to thank you, the county, for letting me work. And it was just kind of fell in my lap to join the county, and I gave it a shot. I came here and was waitressing and cashiering when I first came in, because I was just like part-time housewife, had little kids then at that time. And I was looking for a job, something that would give me good benefits, health, and everything to kind of help me, because my husband didn't have it at the time with his employment. So for me, it was important, and it's what most people look for. And I never would have dreamed that I would have worked in a library. And everyone who knew me thought, you work in a library, really? But it's been a blessing, and I loved working with the patrons whenever I had the opportunity to work out in the public areas. And I loved working over at the law library when they had it over at the courthouse. And a lot of people were very appreciative. And it just, I enjoyed working in all the different departments. But yeah, I had the long haul, most of it in technical services. That's where I started off when we started the integration of putting everything online and stuff like that. And it was something new. And I'd like to thank the county for helping me with my educational assistance at the very beginning until they no longer did it. Then we had the Friends of the Library who helped me with a little of my education. And then when I went to my master's, I kind of like did that on my own. And then I just did most of my service, you know, for the county, and here I am. And I did some of the, worked with the hurricane relief when they were going around doing all the pickups and stuff like that. And I enjoyed working with the engineering department and doing that. It was a lot of fun. It was fun getting out, working, with the other people. And I remember working with emergency services during some of the hurricane disaster in the old building that we used to have. But it's been a real pleasure, and I'd like to thank all of you and everyone in the county who gave me the opportunity. And I've been through several library directors, and I'm glad to see Betsy. And I've enjoyed working with her also. And Tanya, I've known. I remember when Tanya started working with the library. She started probably a couple years, I think, before I did. And she was just a little youngster. But yeah, she still has that little baby face. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure. And Pansy, we became very close friends, and she just retired recently. So, but yeah, that's about it. That's the only thing I think of.
So I think,
And by the way, this is my daughter.
okay,
Christy.
great.
And this is my guy, Craig. And I'd like to thank my friends for coming.
So, what's amazing is, you have so many hats, a wife, a mother, full-time job, but yet you still went and got 3 additional degrees to further yourself. That takes a lot,
Yes, it took me about 10 years to do it, but another note about that. Because of that, I was the first one in my family to ever receive any kind of degrees, and especially in a master's. No one in my parents' families ever had any degrees, and I was the very first person to do that. I've always wanted to go to school. It was always a passion of mine. For some reason, my dad just never let me do it, so I had to do it on my own.
So that's setting the bar pretty high for your daughter now then, right?
They weren't all that, they're not into education, I don't think, not as much as I was. I tried to get them to go, but you can't force somebody that doesn't want to.
Yeah.
But it was something I wanted for my own personal growth.
Well, very good for you. Commissioner Flesher, do you have a comment?
I just wanted to say that the library is customarily a quiet place.
I'm
A reserved place. A place, a respite where you can indulge in reading, and there's usually people, not you.
No.
Thank you for being a bright ray of sunshine throughout our system. Whoever you worked for, you always took the time to have a smile and express support and friendliness, and it was very well received. I want to thank you, and now you all have that.
Thank you very much.
Mike, did you want to say a word?
Good morning, Michael Zito, Assistant County Administrator Sigland. I just want to thank you for being the consummate librarian professional and always bringing grace and humor and a smile to all those that you serve, for doing anything that's asked of you, and for creating, being a big part of the family that is the library system. The sum of the parts are greater than the whole in the way we serve our community because of the relationships that you have under that roof. And you're a big part of that, and I want to see that legacy carry forward. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good. Well, come on up and we'll give you your proclamation.
Let's give her one again. Thank you for doing that. Come on up. You all need a picture with her.
Thank you so much.
Took the journey.
Bring some friends down
All
here,
right,
don't
same
you?
here.
Yeah, y'all come down and get a picture with
Yeah, you came for support. Let's come on down.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you once again.
Next, we have a presentation of lithographs to the fire rescue and sheriff's office in appreciation of their support of the 2022 Vero Beach Air Show. And Mr. Marty Zickert will be making these presentations. Good morning, Marty.
Good morning. In 2012, a gentleman named Todd Howder, who's an engineer with MBV Engineering, said we need to do an air show. We haven't done one in 18 years. He convinced me to be part of the board of directors because I'd flown for 30 years in airplanes that were built by the lowest bidder. That's the way the military works. So I said, sure. So that first year we heard that the Blue Angels were coming. The very first year I parked cars. I had no idea. I guess we had an air show, I don't know. The next year the Blue Angels showed up, and I'm the liaison with the Blue Angels, have been ever since we started. I'm Air Force.
Thanks, John.
They're Navy. Little inter-service rivalry, but I had spent 4 years in Pensacola working with them. What people don't realize about the air show is it's a year-long process to plan. We're starting already planning because they've come faithfully every 2 years. We're already planning for 2024. They are one of the finest group of young men and women you are ever going to see. They pick them. There were 9 people here that were auditioning to be on the Blues. So you figure they do 35 shows a year. They have 8 to 10 people. They pick 3. Little intense rivalry. So what people don't realize is that it takes 800 volunteers to put on the show. The people, there's obviously no way I can handle all of those, particularly when you start into organizations like the fire rescue folks, law enforcement with this county, and with the city. So what I've done is the Blues send out a lithograph. And this one is addressed to the Indian River County Fire Rescue. Fire rescue folks, front and center.
Thank you.
How about the retiree? The old man back there.
Okay, who's going to be your spokesman for what is it you do?
Chief? Yeah.
We'd like to thank you for this gift. We put a lot of hours into this fine show we had this year. It went off without a hitch. I'd like to thank our staff for doing such a great job with it. Bill Harrington, our Chief of Logistics and Training, kind of spearheaded the whole thing, and he did a fantastic job with assistance from Chief Greer, Chief Rattray, Chief Gibbons, and Chief Marini. But our biggest gratitude goes to the men and women we had out there. They did a phenomenal job. They went above and beyond the call of duty. They went out there through the heat, through the rain, through the lightning, and did their job. So I would like to thank you for this gift and thank the men and women of the Fire Rescue Department for their activity and their courage for being out there through thick and thin. Thank you.
And you do. The, can I get you to take a picture?
Stand it up.
Yeah. What you don't realize is that they not only do the fire rescue, but there are accidents at the air show. In 2012, in 2013, 14, and 16, we had the jet truck here called Shockwave, and it was driven by Chris Darnell. 2 weeks ago, he was driving up in Michigan. A tire blew at 325 miles an hour. It's you folks that go out and make it happen. He got killed, obviously, but you're the ones that keep it from happening anywhere else. You have procedures. If we have an airplane come in doing the air show and they land upside down, that can happen. It's a dangerous business. And it's folks like you that take care of that and make sure that everything is done, planned, there is no problems, and we'll take care of it. I would like to be, if you wouldn't mind, in the picture with you. And let's you and me get up here. And
Why don't you come down here in the middle, Chief, you and Marty? There we go.
perfect.
Flanked by the best. Oh.
Great job.
Thank you once again. Great job.
Okay, next is the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. You're not standing back there. All part of one group. Eric? Well, wait a minute.
Hey, the colonel said front.
Yeah, you gotta do what the colonel says, Eric.
Watch his fingers.
Same thing. We've got the litho provided by the Blue Angels, signed by the Blue Angels. We couldn't get this done without the cooperation of everybody, and I mean everybody in Indian River County. This is a fantastic event. The Blues consider us one of the top 2 shows that they play all year. The other one is Lakeland. There's an event in December called International Council of Air Shows, where everybody that's an air show performer, including the Blues, Thunderbirds, and they have it at Vegas. The Blues will address probably 350, 400 people that they're going to be going to that base that year. The common thread, they say, is if you want to know how to do an air show, you call Vero Beach. When we instituted the event in the park, that cemented everything we had ever done in the past. They absolutely love it. This time we have a tent out there. We've always had one for friends and family. 4 of the wives of the Blues were there. There's only six flyers. That's it. There is no substitute. 4 of them were there, including the lead's wife. And she said, this is the closest we ever get to our guys. That is a big deal. The walk down that you get to see is a huge deal to them. At Lakeland, they are clear across the runway, you can't even see them. They still do the walk down. But Vero Beach has such a good reputation. The people ask me, when are the Thunderbirds coming? And my answer is never. When you have the Blues that said, Vero is our town, I'm good with that. We do them every 2 years because we just don't have the based. Piper is our main one. We've got Northrop Grumman helping, but this is a big deal. The support we get from the Rob Ryan is at every meeting that we have. I know it's got to be boring. But he's there. And that's the kind of support we get from the county, and I want to thank you all for it. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, Colonel. Thank you for this. I just want to say, we certainly enjoy being a part of this every single year, every time that this is done. But at the same time, there's a lot of stress that goes on. We see nationally when there are large crowds, when there are major events, and we go into full protection mode of our community. We're happy for our community. We love that we get the privilege of living here and having these great things happen, but we also are concerned and we want to protect the community. So thank you to Rob Ryan and Deputy Chief Rich, who are behind me, and our entire team. Doug McKenzie couldn't be here today, but our team puts a lot of effort in making sure that these events go off without a hitch, that our security team is prepared and ready to respond, from parades to major events like this every single time. So much planning and effort goes into it, and so we're just honored to be a part of it, and thank you, Colonel Zickert, for recognizing our role in it. Thank you.
Let's go up.
Good job. Rob. Dave.
You should see the other guy, though.
And the Colonel.
There you go.
Gets it out.
So, Sheriff, tomorrow we're not going to see a budget amendment for a fancy frame for that, are we?
Thank you, Colonel.
You got it covered.
By the way, this is my last hoorah. I'm turning it over to a younger guy who happens to be a F-18 pilot, Marine, and I'll still be hanging around. I'm going to be an advisor, but I'm not going to Vegas. Thank you.
Hey, Marty, before you go, I'm also stepping down, as you know, and I've been a very, very strong supporter of the Blues, and you've heard me many times sitting here say I want them to fly low, I want them to fly fast, and I want them to fly loud, because I really believe that's the sound of freedom. I won't be here in 24, but you tell them anyway that former Commissioner O'Brien said fly low, fly fast, and fly damn loud, because that's what I want to hear.
They are good. They made a comment to me, which I really appreciated. They left an airplane here Sunday. It was broke. They fixed it overnight. Their comment to us is, you are the only place that we play that stuck with us the whole time. Only. They said everywhere else, when number 6 lands that Sunday, their support is over. Not the way it is in Indian River County.
Right.
Very
We
good.
support them till the time they're airborne. Thank you.
Great job, Marty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation designating the week of July 16 through July 24, 2022 as Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup Week. And we have, come on up. And this will be presented by Vice Chair Commissioner Ehrman. Commissioner Ehrman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. April, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. This is a proclamation designating the week of July 16th, 2022 through July 24th, 2022 as Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup Week. Whereas on July 23rd, 2022, the Marine Industries Association of the Treasure Coast, in conjunction with the Florida Inland Navigation District, will conduct the 15th Annual Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup. And whereas this event will attract approximately 1,000 volunteers who will participate in cleaning up the waterways in Indian River, Martin, and St. Lucie counties. And whereas 31 designated sites throughout the 3 counties will serve as registration and disposal sites for the volunteers to work out of, and whereas numerous waterfront homeowners associations have been recruited to clean up their own waterfronts, and whereas since the beginning, over 95.5 tons of trash has been collected from approximately 125 miles of waterways, with an exception of a significantly larger amount to be collected this year with an increased volunteer effort. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the week of July 16, 2022 through July 24, 2022 will be designated as Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup Week in Indian River County, and all citizens are encouraged to use this occasion to foster appreciation for the Treasure Coast waterways and assist in cleanup efforts. Adopted this 12th day of July 2022 and signed by all 5 county commissioners. This is a great thing for anybody that's ever done it. It's fun to do. You get out on the water, you get out on the river. I've participated a few times, and it's amazing how much you don't see when you go out there on just a regular day on your boat. When you actually start looking for trash, you find trash. People are, I don't know about you, Mr. Chairman, but I think people are a little better about being more trash conscious than they used to be many years ago. But there's still a lot of trash out there, and this is such a great program to do it because it makes a difference on all the spoil islands and everywhere you see stuff and floating in the water and things like that. It's such a great project, and just as long as it, hopefully, it'll bring even more good awareness for those people that are boaters to go out and, take it home with you. Don't leave it. So.
Well, and thank you for honoring us again with Waterway Cleanup Week. You guys have been on board with us since the first year, and we're now in year 15. And I'm proud to say that we are making a difference. We have, when we first started this project, regionally, we were removing, on the first 3 years with half the volunteers, we were removing 10 to 13 tons of trash over those years. We got that average over the next 4 years down to about 8 tons. And now we're averaging under 4 tons of trash a year with more volunteers than ever. We're seeing smaller debris versus bigger debris. It's making a difference. And we start them off young. We now have generations that are now bringing generations to the table as volunteers. These guys have an advantage. They're closer to most of the trash. So they make really good team players and start them off earlier, and they're not part of the problem. And so we're very proud of the demographics for this group. We've removed over 96 tons of trash regionally over the 15 years. And I'm hoping in the next 5 to 10 that I work my way out of this. And I want everybody to come back and not be able to find anything. That's my goal. Maybe not completely realistic, but we're headed in the right direction. And I thank you for your continued support. We're going to be helping with the Lost Tree Island project this year, too. So,
Awesome, great.
And this is Mimi. She's going to be 5 this year. This is her 4th cleanup. So we brought you gifts.
Okay,
And,
well, come on up.
This year. And thank you so much for your continued support.
I'm going to give you that.
Come on.
Come on, we need you in the picture.
So you've trained her well.
We've trained her well. She's one of the best picker-uppers there is. And her mommy is, her aunt Sally is our logistics coordinator.
There's one more.
So she helps us get our 30 sites.
All right, we ready? Here we go. All right, good job.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have the approval of the minutes of May 10 and May 17, 2022.
Mr. Chair, move approval both.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Under informational items, we do have a retirement proclamation for Matthew Brower, Indian River County Board of County Commissioners, Department of Public Works, Road and Bridge with 31 years of service. So, Matthew, we greatly appreciate your service to the community for the last 31 years. And we have our holiday schedule there and then a PSC announcement that covers information. Consent agenda. Commissioners, does anybody wish to pull a consent agenda item for additional discussion?
Mr. Chair, 8H, please.
And Commissioner, if I can, want to pull 8F, just for some clarification.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioners, I'd like to pull item 8C. And since we just added it, just for public clarification, 8L as well. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to have a consent agenda item pulled for additional discussion? Seeing none, Commissioners?
Move approval as amended.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, second by Vice Chair Ehrman. All in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? Carries 5-0. We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Moss, item 8H.
Yes, thank you. 8H refers to the resurfacing of 53rd Street to the Merrill Barber Bridge. I have a question in that regard. It talks about widening the shoulder to guarantee a minimum of 5-foot wide bike lane. And it's my understanding that 7-foot wide bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, really are the most safe and becoming the standard, if not already so. So I'm not clear why we are referring to a 5-foot bike lane.
So we have had requests for 7-foot buffered bike lanes. That came up a month or so ago on the Indian River Boulevard section further south. However, the design plans have been in place for the 5-foot bike lanes, which are an improvement from the facility that is there right now. If we were to expand to 7-foot buffered bike lanes, it would require potentially additional stormwater treatment and the potential, and we don't necessarily have all of the right-of-way that we would need for that, and the cost would go up significantly. I will add that that DOT is providing $3.4 million in funding towards this project. The county's cost share is $1.6 million. Just as a note, the source is the local option gas tax, the 6 cents of gas tax that we charge as a county. That generates about $3.5 million a year in revenue. So this is about half of a year's worth of revenue just for that match. If we were to do 7-foot buffered bike lanes, then the cost would go up significantly. And we have discussed this, through various processes through the MPO and at prior meetings.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your work on it, but I really think that we need to plan on 7-foot bike lanes in the future. Will we be doing that? At what point will we begin to plan on 7-foot?
We evaluate each of the projects to see if we can do 7-foot buffered bike lanes. If we're able to do them without a significant additional cost, we will do that. When we're doing new road projects, we've been adding the 7-foot buffered bike lanes. It's based on, the limiting factor is the funding, and on these resurfacing projects, sometimes we do not have the right-of-way to be able to handle that, because once you expand the impervious surface so much, you've got to deal with stormwater treatment that's beyond what we have the capability for right now.
Well, as I said, I appreciate your work on it. I know it's an extra requirement, but I think it's important. I don't support this as it stands.
Commissioners, is there a motion to move this forward?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Flesher. Just, for discussion, this is the award bid for construction. Very late to be bringing up an item like that as we're getting ready to go out to construct. And I will point out, this is commonly referred to as Indian River Boulevard North, and we have already approved the design bid for what's referred to as Indian River Boulevard South, which is from the Barber Bridge to the US 1. That is also bid with a 5-foot bike lane, And just going forward, just keep in mind that the very same constrictions that apply to the north part of this project are even more problematic to the south. And so again, it is a 5-foot bike lane in there. Not every road are we going to be able to put in a 7-foot buffered, but where we can. And, you know, keep in mind, to get that extra foot, we're having to narrow the vehicle lanes to get there. So there's a trade-off between the bike and the vehicles as far as safety. And so we have to keep that in mind. These small county grants are for resurfacing and milling. They're not for widening or expansion. So, you know, I think we would all love to say we can put in 7-foot buffered everywhere. The reality is we can't. And we just have to realize that on these projects like this, going to a 5-foot is certainly, as Jason mentioned, better than the existing facilities there now. So we just have to work with what we have. And I can't see doubling the price of this project to try to add 2 more feet on the bike lane. But so this is project ready to go for construction, and I think we do need to move it forward. So we have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Flesher. Is there any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Moss opposed. We'll go to item 8F, Mr. Reingold, the Calcutta Drive docks.
Thank you very much. I just asked to have this item pulled just to clarify something in the staff report. If the license agreement for dock number 14 is terminated per the board's direction, it will no longer be tied to a specific property within Country Club Point. But from there on out, will actually then go to, as properties get sold, the property gets sold to the next person on the waiting list. What I want to clarify is that the waiting list consists of property owners within Country Club Point. With that, I'm available for any other additional questions or comments and recommend approval.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions for Dylan? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to accept.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Ehrman, second by Commissioner Flesher. Anyone from the public wish to comment? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Item 8C is the update from the purchasing department on our sole source designation requests. And first, I want to thank Jennifer Hyde for putting this together. I appreciate the work she did on it and all that. I just want to bring this to the board's attention because, you know, my thought is sometimes you get a little creep on this. And so if you look at the bottom line, we're estimated to have committed about $25 million over the next 3 years to sole source bids. And so I just kind of, as I'm stepping down here shortly, just ask you all to keep an eye on that before we don't want to get too far out of hand. But, you know, I think staff and purchasing does a great job on all these things. And so I'm completely fine with it. I just want to, again, thank Jennifer for putting the report out. And just, I think we should keep an eye on it just for good financial transparency. So with that, if someone would like to move this forward.
Motion to approve, sir.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, second by Vice Chair Ehrman. Any discussion? Anybody from the public? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. And then item 8L is the one we added, and since this is a purchase order increase, I just thought for full transparency that we should have it pulled if there's anybody that wishes to speak to this. I guess Mike, from a good news point of view, where the Sandwich is doing a good job in selling equipment and supplies and golf balls and stuff, so.
We are, Commissioner, thank you. This is a companion item to 8D, very similar concept where just because of supply chain issues, we've had certain vendors have products available, and that's spiked up their purchase order over the amount that the board and that Jason can approve. Jennifer Hyde does an excellent job of consolidating these requests in January, but these were not on the radar at the time due to the inventory control issues. But it is a good problem to have, and thank you for your support.
Sure, absolutely. Commissioners, any
Motion to approve.
A motion? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Flesher. I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. There's no constitutional offer issues, so we'll move to public items, a public hearing for an ordinance amending section 204.06 definitions and section 204.13 terms and conditions of franchises of part 1 of chapter 204 solid waste, et cetera, et cetera. Good morning, Mr. Himanshu. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Himanshu Mehta, Solid Waste Disposal District. Today, we have for you basically a public hearing process. As you're aware, we have a franchise agreement with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida, to provide residential garbage, recycling services, and also commercial solid waste services. And also it included an exclusive option for only Waste Management to provide roll-off containers for construction and demolition debris in 15 cubic yards or greater. And what Waste Management requested back in May is to remove this exclusivity, which the board supported in the past. And so today's the more of the formal process that we need to amend our ordinance to effect this change. So we basically, there's a section in the definition that defines 15 cubic yard containers. So we're basically removing that to say any size containers would constitute construction demolition debris. And also in section 204.13.1, we're removing basically that the franchise includes the exclusive collection, construction, demolition debris in any size containers. So what this will do, Commissioners, is allow Waste Management and other haulers in the community to basically collect in unincorporated in Indian County C&D from using any size containers, and to bring that, if they choose to the county landfill. We will basically at the landfill collect the franchise fee, so there is a 6% franchise fee, and we'll adjust our rate to Waste Management so that we capture the franchise fee at the gate instead of them, remitting that on a monthly basis. The only other part of this that I wanted to make a note of is Waste Management. Basically, with this ordinance change occurring in the middle of the month, they've asked if the effective date of this could be moved to August 1st, and I'll let basically County Attorney address that part as well.
Okay, thank you. Dylan?
Yeah, so we received a request from Waste Management to postpone the effective date. As written, the effective date is the ordinance shall become effective upon adoption by the Board of County Commissioners and filing with the Department of State, which Jeff's group does a great job in the clerk's office, usually gets it over to the Department of State the day of, if not just the next day. Based upon the request, if the board were amenable to it, would simply would change the Section 6 effective date to the ordinance shall become effective upon August 1st, 2022. So if it's the will of the board at the end of the public hearing, when it makes its motion, simply just the board move to approve the ordinance subject to the change, and then I'll draft up that change and then get that circulated and filed with the clerk.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any question of Himanshu or Dylan? Okay, we'll open up public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this item? Waste Management, you guys are good? Okay. Seeing none and having provided ample opportunity, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Chair, move forward.
And that is, the motion includes the amendment to change to August 1st. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, second by Commissioner Adams. Any discussion? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0 with the August 1st effective date.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's no public speaking items, so notice of public items. Mr. Reingold, would you do the honors, please?
Sure. We have a notice of scheduled public hearing. This will be for August 16th, 2022. This is Jelmby's right-of-way abandonment request. This will be legislative in nature. And again, this will be a public hearing at our next regular scheduled board meeting for August 16th, 2022. And with that, I will turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Dylan. Moving on to county administrator matters, the second amendment to the amended and restated facility lease agreement. Commissioners, there was some additional backups submitted on this. I hope everyone received that. And we'll go ahead and hear from Mr. Brown. Go ahead. Good morning, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This item is the proposed Second Amendment to the amended and restated facility lease agreement at Jackie Robinson Training Complex, which was formerly known as Historic Dodgertown, back in on January 2nd, 2019. Well, first let me say, we've worked a lot with MLB and county staff to come to this agreement. I think it has been a great partnership for both of us. I have Mike Zito here who kind of heads that up on the county side to help me out if I get into trouble on any details. And also we have Rochelle Madrigal here from MLB. And I want to thank her and MLB for working with us on this amendment, as well as the partnership that we've had over the last 3 years with MLB. They're doing great things out there at that facility, and many more great things to come, I believe. So with that, back on January 2nd, 2019, the county entered into the lease with MLB, doing business as Verotown. The initial term of that agreement is 10 years and 8 months. We're about 3.5 years into that period, and there are 3 potential 5-year renewal options. The county and MLB have had various responsibilities in this agreement. What the proposed Second Amendment does is takes 3 projects that were basically a county responsibility to manage the projects and is passing those over to MLB to complete those projects, and we will fund them. So the first of those is the TV platform projects. If you're familiar with the facility, along the first and third base sides, there were TV platforms. Those had were in need of replacement. The county, I think, put those out to bid twice, actually, for replacement, and didn't get any bidders. So MLB had approached us about maybe taking the money that we had allocated to that, which was $200,000, and using those for other improvements in Holman Stadium. So this agreement, one of the things it does is takes that $200,000 and passes that on to MLB for their use for improvements, capital and repairs at the Holman Stadium area. The next one is the Executive Building, Championship Hall, as it's known. The county had responsibility to re-roof that, and there were some indoor air quality issues there. It basically didn't make sense to put a lot of money into that facility that wasn't really maximized for what was there. We talked to MLB about maybe handing that off to them to be a project that they could manage and replace that with something not just what is there, but something that is better and suits their need. We have agreed to do that. The agreement does take $3.5 million that we would deposit into the account for MLB to build that facility, and we have, Kim, if you can pull that up, this is a rendering. We've got a couple renderings of what that facility would look like. So this would replace the existing executive building or championship hall that's there between the conference room and, if you're looking, the conference room is to the left and behind there, and field 2 is to the right, or kind of behind us from this shot. Field 2 is the field that MLB just recently completed the AstroTurf project on, which was one of their requirements in the agreement. So this would obviously be a better facility for the needs of MLB and a better facility for the county complex at the end of the day. So staff recommends doing this. The estimated cost of this building is more than the $3.5 million. So MLB would have some skin in the game, if you will, on this. So it's an upgrade, and they will be funding a part of that. The agreement says if it costs more than $3.5 million, that's the limit of the county's contribution, and we do anticipate will cost more than that. And so that we're not micromanaging the project, this rendering it's basically a building that's similar to this. So it's not like the county's going to be in there saying, hey, no, I think you should change that green to blue or something like that. So we're passing this off to MLB. They're going to do the project. There invariably will be some changes, but basically that is the concept there. And then the last item is the hotel room remediation project. The county had done had a contractor in there and did most of the work. We did discover some additional minor asbestos issues that were remaining there on the walls. Those have been jointly identified, and this would basically pass that responsibility on to MLB, and they would complete those remaining. Again, that's a $570,000 amount. And this, it may cost that much. It may cost less than that. If it costs less than that, the funds would be returned to the county. If it goes over, it would be MLB's responsibility. So basically, the funding is for this agreement has been a mix of tourist tax and 1 cent sales tax. These projects are primarily capital sales tax funded, and the money is already there. It's basically, instead of us spending the money with a contractor, we're passing this off to MLB, and they're going to spend the money with the contractor, and we're going to reimburse them. So it is not an increase in funding from what we have programmed in the budget for this year and the next year of the capital improvements program. So with that, there is the need to do a budget amendment because we've got some of those dollars projected in next year's budget, which is when a lot of these expenses will happen, but the agreement requires us to fund the capital reserve account a few business days after this agreement. So we would need the budget amendment to move about $2.4 million into the current year that's programmed for next year. We still think those funds will probably be spent next year, but to satisfy the requirements of the agreement, we need that budget amendment. So with that, staff recommends that the board approve the attached second amendment. With the changes that were submitted initially, we were finalizing some things when the agenda was put out. As Commissioner O'Brien referred to, we got the final version to you, so we would request that the board authorize the chair to sign the final agreement. We also request that the board waive the requirement for bids in order to allow MLB to manage the projects. That's something that's got to be done for statute since there are buildings. That's a formality to let them go through their process. And we did this similarly in 2018 and in the First Amendment last year. And staff recommends that the board approve the funding plan as detailed above and approve the necessary budget amendment to advance the funding from next year to this year, as I mentioned before. So with that, again, just want to thank MLB. I think they're doing really great things out there. This is a really wonderful project here. I can't... If you said, hey, Jason, what's the best potential partner we could have to run this baseball facility that we have? I couldn't think of a better one than MLB. They bring such great resources and are a top-notch organization, and it's been a great partnership so far, and look forward to at least 8 more years and hopefully 23 more years of that partnership. So with that, I will stop talking, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jason. And for those of you that were there at the State of the County last Friday, I mentioned how MLB is kind of ramping up their programming again and having events post-pandemic issues. So very excited to see the facility getting a lot of use again. Just so I'm clear, Jason, the 3 items, the TV stands, the Champions Hall, and the hotel rooms, are the county's financial liability is capped at those numbers. So if there's a cost overrun or work order changes that adds to the cost, we're capped at these dollar amounts that we're agreeing to right now. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it states that the dollars are capped. If it goes over, it's MLB's responsibility for something, and that's for example, that's contemplated on the executive building that it will cost more than the $3.5 million. So
MLB, like you said, will have a little skin in the game as well. So, okay, commissioners, any questions of staff?
Mr. Chairman, I think that I think this is a great idea, and being that part of the things I do on the side, being a high school baseball umpire and doing a lot of games out at Jackie Robinson, I have seen some of these changes take place in phases, and I've been in parts of the building that they're talking about, getting rid of and building this, and I think that's just a great idea. And post-pandemic, I'm seeing so much more activity out there, and I just think it's great. It benefits the county, it benefits our local businesses here, and things are just happening out there, and I'm very glad to see that. And I've read through this agreement twice. Talked to Jason. I think it's very well done. county staff and by MLB and Rachel and her staff. I think it's a win-win for all of us. And I like the idea that they're putting their stamp on it. They're going to do the design, and that you know, we're helping out per the agreement on this. With yeah, it's just a good thing. As long as it's not going to be next agreement won't be like a third amendment to the second amendment to the amendment. That's the only thing I would be concerned about. But no, other than that, Rochelle, everything's going well out there. I'm glad to see it. And commissioners, if y'all haven't been out there, or maybe at least before you leave, we can, you know, get a tour out there one day for you. If you haven't been inside Building 42 and the other stuff that they've done and other stuff that's happened, it's been really awesome. But that's all I'm going to say. But I'm going to go ahead and move staff approval on this.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Ehrman, second by Commissioner Flesher. Anybody wish to speak on this? Come on up.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you. That's really all. And Jason, thank you for that presentation, but really appreciate the partnership. As you all have spoken to, we've been able to accomplish a lot of things in a short amount of time, especially given the pandemic thrown at us in the middle of it. But we have seen now the visual impact of our partnership. And so, as Commissioner Ehrman said, if you haven't been out there to see Building 42, I certainly welcome you anytime. I'd be happy to show it to you. But that's really been the recent gem that we've been able to do. We've been able to check a lot of boxes on some of the improvements we were required to do at home in the stadium, like the new press box that's now finished, the new dugouts. So a lot of visual impact now. And we've been able to add some great new MLB programming as well. Besides some of our traditional groups that have been in there, we've had the women's national team for USA Softball held their tryouts there for the first time in January. We brought some new girls baseball programming there and Trailblazer Series in April. And just recently, last week, our Elite Development Invitational, which served about 60 girls around the nation here for girls baseball. Some unique programming we're adding to the slate. So things are looking up since post-pandemic, and looking forward to growing it for many years to come. But thank you for your support.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Moss.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of waiving the requirement for competitive bidding. Millions of dollars are involved here of public funding. And when you have that amount of public funding involved, I think it should bear public scrutiny, which is competitive bidding. I'm glad, by the way, that we have increased tourism, and I know this is a very good venue for it. My hope is that in the future, it's not simply a matter of, there are a lot of money spent, tourism benefiting tourism. And by that I mean the tourist dollars spent benefit tourism with regard to the businesses involved and the organizations that are involved directly in tourism. And I know there's an indirect benefit to other businesses. That being said, what I'm looking for is tourism that benefits the community at large. And this might be a perfect venue for that. We have the Jackie Robinson Day, but that's, one day. So perhaps there are other ways that the community can benefit from the large amount of public funding that's being dedicated to this project. So those are my thoughts on it, and thank you. And I did, by the way, raise this issue of competitive bidding during the last amendment. That was the first amendment in February of 2021.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion from Vice Chair Ehrman, second by Commissioner Flesher. Is anyone from the audience wishes to speak on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
That motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Moss opposed. Commissioners, we have removed item 12A1 from the agenda, so we'll move to 12A2, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, the low-income housing tax credit. And Phil, are you or John kicking this off? John, okay, good morning, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. Actually, I'll just start it off. I'll introduce
The other John, I guess, okay.
Yeah, okay. So I'll introduce John Stoll, the Chief of Long Range Planning, and we're very pleased to announce that this is the third of three attempts that we have made using ARP funding to address our affordable housing situation here in Indian River County. And state of Florida has really been the source of a confluence of events that have led to an affordable housing issue. We've become an attractive place in light of COVID. ARP was put out to do a COVID countermeasure system, you know, a series of strategic business and individual private sector subsidies to get people in houses, to keep their businesses open, et cetera. So that's the tie-in to the AARP here. With that, I'm going to turn it right over to John, and he's going to show you how our low-income housing tax credit program will work, talk a little about the genesis of it, and we're very optimistic that we can get some, you know, really good investment in here in affordable housing in the county through this. So go ahead, John, if you'd like to do your presentation.
Thank you, Phil. And good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, John.
So yeah, as Phil mentioned, this is the low-income housing tax credit program using ARP funding. So I'll just give you a little background. March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan stimulus package was approved. May 18th, 2021, the board reviewed our SHARP program, which is our Supplemental Housing Assistance Rehab and Purchase Program, a nonprofit housing community rehab program called RENO, a nonprofit housing construction program called CENO, and a low-income housing tax credit project assistance program utilizing ARP funding. We've successfully implemented SHARP, RENO, and CENO, and those are working out quite well. So today I'm bringing you the low-income housing tax assistance program. So we've had this program available in some mechanism within the county for some time. It's one of our local housing assistance plan strategies where we can use some SHIP funding to support this, and we have done that in the past. This would be on a larger scale, utilizing ARP funding. So this is a program that allows nonprofits and for-profit developers to reduce their federal tax liability. It's a one-to-one exchange for the development of affordable rental housing. Applications do require a local funding match, and we would request that up to $400,000 in ARP funding be made available as a local match to a qualified applicant. And in this case, we would have a submission deadline, I believe, of September 1st. We would take all the applications we receive, staff would review those, and then we would bring a qualified applicant back to the board for final approval if we were to choose this. That doesn't necessarily mean that they would win. We would just be supporting them with a match. If they didn't, then the funding would come back to us. We're not giving it away in any way at that point. This is a map that actually shows how these areas could be cited or selected by the state in this program. The darker areas being more desirable for the program based on proximity to GO line stops, grocery stores, medical facilities, pharmacies, and other demographic data. So you can kind of see within the unincorporated county where we might have one of these projects be successful. And we've had a lot of discussion with developers who are interested in this year, and so we think that there's a lot of interest.
Hey, John, Commissioner Adams has a question.
So would they get more points based on, is that what this is indicating? Okay, so the closer they are to a darker area, the more points they would get.
That's correct.
Thank you, John.
No problem. So that's a pretty simple program. It's basically just asking that we be allowed to use some of the ARP funding to match a potential developer to build some affordable rental housing within the county. So staff would recommend that the Board of County Commissioners consider the proposed LIHTC project assistance program and approve the program and direct staff to begin administration of this program or direct staff to make any necessary changes to the program. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of staff? So, John, these would be rental like apartments or maybe duplexes, but something along that line, like multifamily kind of thing?
That's correct.
And then would it fall under like our Section 8 guidelines as far as what the maximum rents are and stuff to make sure they stay in a affordable range, or how would the affordability be enforced?
So they're required to maintain affordability for 30 years. There's several different options they can choose from that the state will award the program through, and I think the state does most of the tracking on that. We're just kind of providing the match. So they can do, like, if you do a 20% set aside for 50% area median income, so reserving that many units within your development for that demographic data. 40% set aside for households earning 60% or less of AMI, or a 40% set aside for households earning between 20 and 80% AMI. Okay. So the state has three different ones. They have to satisfy one of those in order to be selected.
Okay, so there are conditions, though, to make sure the prices stay in a affordable range. That's based correct. On the demographics. Okay, very good.
What would that price range be?
For the 20 to 80%? Our area median income according to SHIP right now is about $77,000. So I think we're looking at
80% of that?
Yeah, so I think that's
It varies depending on the size of the family. So that would be, I think, a family of 4, 80% of 77,000. So up to $50,000 income, you would qualify. Beyond 50, you wouldn't qualify for the 80%.
I mean, what would like the rent or the price?
30, isn't it 30% of total income?
33%.
33%.
Income.
Right.
So it would be 33.
So 33% of, say, 50,000, so it'd be about 15,000 a year. Divide that by 12, 1,100 a month for a family of 4.
12 to 1,300 a month for a
Yeah.
family, ish. I'm not holding you
Right.
to it.
That'd be the maximum rent they would be able to charge
Okay.
in a hypothetical. And that would probably be a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment or townhouse or duplex.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah. mhm.
Okay. Any other
Yeah.
questions of staff? All right, commissioners, your pleasure.
I'd be happy to move approval.
I'll second that. So we have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by myself, for staff recommendation. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Moving on to county attorney matters, the Agricultural Advisory Committee appointment. Mr. Reingold.
Thank you very much. Back in April 2021, the Board of County Commissioners restructured the Agriculture Advisory Committee. As part of that reorganization, the board added 2 positions for those who are actively engaged in agritourism. We have received an application from someone who wishes to serve in that position. County Attorney's Office simply recommends that the board consider the application, decide whether to appoint someone to fill that position. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Dylan. Commissioner Adams.
Yes. So we have not had an Ag Advisory Committee meeting in a bit, and I don't foresee one on the horizon anytime soon, unless perhaps the visioning process ramps up faster than what it is right now. But I know Dylan's job is to bring these to us as they come up. I would feel a little bit more comfortable if we had a larger pool of people. And since there's no real emergency to appoint somebody, I don't know if it would be appropriate, but I would ask perhaps we leave this open for a little bit longer to see if we get, a couple more. I think having this discussion at the meeting will bring some more interest to it, but I know agritourism is a huge segment of the agricultural community right now, and there's a lot going on in the county with agritourism. So just for what it's worth, those are my 2 cents on it. And I don't see a major emergency that we would need to do this
And
today.
I believe Dylan can correct me, but I believe we do not have to appoint anyone at this time. Is that correct, Dylan?
Oh, yeah, there's no requirement, just simply was bringing it to the attention of the board, but certainly understand the issues that Commissioner Adams raises, which we have 2 positions. It'd be nice to kind of see if we could drum up some additional support and bring back, 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever individuals to fill the vacant positions.
Okay. So Commissioner Adams, would you just go ahead and like make a motion that we hold off on filling any appointments until at such time we have a larger pool of candidates?
That would be a great motion. I'd be most happy to make that.
Okay, and I'll be glad to second that. So we have a motion by Commissioner Adams, seconded by myself. Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Thank you, Dylan. Commissioners, we added an item under my matters. As I mentioned, FAC has sent out an email alert to ask us to send letters to the governor for vetoing Senate Bill 620. Since we don't meet again until August, I wanted to add this. If the board approves it, I'll work with Dylan or Jason, an appropriate letter, and then we'll send that off. And I would think we would just CC Senator Mayfield and Representative Grawl as well, and even maybe our lobby team or something, but just get the letter out. So if you all would concur, we'll be glad to go ahead and get that letter to the governor to thank him for his veto.
Mr. Chair, would you need a motion for that or just?
I think a motion would be fine. That'd be good.
I'd be happy to make a motion that we have you do that.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Moss to send the letter to the governor. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 5-0.
I think Dylan has a clarification.
I'm sorry.
I don't know, and I may be stepping out of turn here. I don't know if the board has seen the veto letter from the governor. Okay, just want to make sure.
I don't think I have. I've got the flyer from
Okay.
FAC that he vetoed it.
The governor's letter stated local governments do overstep their authority and unreasonably burden businesses through policies that range from the merely misguided to the politically motivated. Indeed, this was illustrated by the bizarre and draconian measures adopted by some local governments during COVID-19, necessitating the state to overrule these edicts to protect freedom and opportunity for Floridians. Incredibly, this bill exempts compensating businesses due to emergency orders of local governments. However, the broad and ambiguous language of the bill will lead to both unintended and unforeseen consequences and costly litigation. It's great that the governor vetoed this bill, but I think we were definitely sent a warning that we just need to keep an eye on additional attacks on local governments as next year's legislative session comes into play.
And I'm sure we'll be able to craft a very well-worded letter to kind of skirt around all that. All righty.
Counting on you.
All right, so we have voted on that. That was 5-0. Moving on to the Solid Waste Disposal District, the SWID minutes of May 10, 2022.
Move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Flesher. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. We have next the Second Amendment and Renewal to Franchise Agreement with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida. Himanshu, welcome again.
Good morning, Commissioners. Himanshu Mehta, Solid Waste Disposal District. This is tied to the ordinance that was just approved earlier. One thing I do want to mention that this is an amendment and a renewal. So we have exercised our option to renew the waste management agreement for 3 more years. So this will be effective basically October 1 of 2022 through September 30, 2025. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, all the terms and conditions remain the same.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
No.
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Flesher. Anyone from the public wish to comment on the motion? Waste Management, you're good? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Item 3 is Payment Processing Services Statement of Work Agreement with N-Court LLC. This is just for the new
We have the automated scale system.
Right.
That the commissioner has approved. As part of that, we're going to be updating our software system, and we need to basically update our credit card system as well. I'm glad Jeff is here. The N-Court system is something that the courthouse has been using for many years. Checked with the staff there, and they're very happy with that system. The reason I did want to come up here and mention in the agenda item, we referenced that with switching to N-Court, one of the things that the Solid Waste Disposal District would like to do as well is to start passing on. We've been absorbing the credit card fees, and we've seen the usage of the credit card fees increase, and every year we're asking Jason and Kristen for more money on the credit card fees. So similar to other county departments, I believe building and golf course pass on those fees to residents. We would also like to, as part of this changeover, pass on the credit card fees to our residents. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
I would just say that's a common practice with credit card fees, so across the board, no matter what you're dealing with. So I'll be happy to move approval.
Second. Okay, Mr. Smith.
Yes, Commissioners, I apologize for not having a tie. I ran out this morning and forgot my tie, so I apologize.
Jeff, I'm working on summer dress
We're on
code
summer
here.
dress code. You're good to go.
I'm on
Mike.
par
You're
with the chairman,
overdressed,
so
to
I'm
be
okay.
honest.
It took me breaking my wrist, but I finally got summer dress code down to short sleeves and no tie. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't have that excuse, so I don't.
took me 16 years, but I'm where I want to be right now.
N-Court has been a very good provider for us. It started in the court system. That's why they have the term N-Court, but they have blossomed out into all credit card processing ventures, and they've met every goal that we wanted. They've performed very well, so I have no qualms about recommending N-Court for you all.
Great. Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Flesher. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Item 4, amendment number 1 to work order number 45 to Kimberly Horn and Associates for the landfill automated scale system.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher. I'm going to give the second to Vice Chair Ehrman. Any discussion? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. Item 5, amendment number 2 to work order number 44 to Kimberly Horn for the landfill gas flare skid improvements and pipeline extension project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Flesher, second by Commissioner Adams. Any discussion? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Item 6, amendment number 1 to work order number 47 to Kimberly Horn and Associates for the roadway and drainage improvements at the IRC landfill.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, second by Commissioner Adams. Any comments? Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. And the last item, number 7, amendment number 1 to work order number 42 to Kimberly Horn, the concentrate to leachate tank conversion project.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, second by Vice Chair Ehrman. Any discussion? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye. Any opposed? That carries 5-0. And that concludes the agenda. For the public, I'd like to announce that tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we start our budget workshop. We anticipate getting done with the budget all on Wednesday, so if anyone has any interest in the upcoming budget, tomorrow would be the day to be here. And commissioners, Commissioner Adams and Kim have arranged for lunch for us tomorrow, so we will get as much done as we can until about 12 to 12:15, and then we'll take a lunch break, and then we have to be back at 1:30, time certain, for the solid waste district budget. And then I hope we will have most of that workshop wrapped up by then, and we'll get out of here at a good time on Wednesday. Thank you, Commissioner Adams, for the lunch. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Jason, I know you mentioned this Friday at the State of the County, but we have, I believe, reached an agreement with the sheriff on his budget amount. So we appreciate the sheriff coming in and working with you and Kristen and coming up with a number that we can support law enforcement with, but also keep our millage rate flat.
Yes, I appreciate the sheriff working with us. We talked, we had a few talks, and we got to a place where we could agree, and I appreciate the sheriff and his staff working with us on that.
Right, so very good. All right, so commissioners, if there's nothing else for the public good, we stand adjourned.